Welcome to the InnovA podcast, a place for auction business owners who have built successful operations but now want to scale their companies and leave a lasting legacy in the industry. If you want more growth, less grind, you've come to the right place.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the InnovA podcast. I have with me a special guest for the very first time, the president and CTO of InnovA, Nathan Staub. Welcome, Nathan.
Thank you for having me, Brandon.
Okay, so today we are going to be talking about digital transformation and why auctioneers, auction owners really need to embrace and think about their digital transformation initiatives, perhaps even thinking about their companies as a software company. We will get into that. I know that sounds daunting and overwhelming because the auction industry, as you know, it's a traditional industry in the sense that it is about relationships and it is about often physical sales, people being on location, hearing the auctioneer, buying and selling different things in real time on the ground, on location. And yet, there is a digital transformation that is completely changing the auction world and has been for quite a while. But as technology now is continuing to increase, we are seeing this take place in the auction industry. Enter your story and the story with InnovA. But before we get there, I want to give me some of your thoughts on digital transformation and the importance of why auction owners need to take this really seriously. So I know you've had in your mind, talking about some case studies of some companies who have not, but then also some companies who have done really well and the importance of it. So walk me through a little bit of your thinking on this.
Yeah, so, my background has really come from, traditional industries who have kind of undergone this digital transformation and helping companies navigate that and kind of ride that wave. And, we know a lot about the textbook cases about companies who failed to adapt and failed to really navigate that digital transformation. The obvious one that a lot of people think about is Kodak, right? And you think about Kodak, founded in 1880. By 1973, they had 120,000 employees. They had peaked in 1996 with over $16 billion in revenue. Just a behemoth, dominating the photography scene, cameras, and was really the pioneer there. In fact, they had built the first digital camera. But we all know the story, and we know where they're at now. By 2012, they had filed for bankruptcy. You're basically no longer in existence. And looking at that, you say, how did that happen? And to me, I think that's one of those textbook cases of a company who really failed to navigate that digital transformation. They came in strong, but really failed to see the signs in front of them and adapt. And I think you have others like that. And sometimes it's entire industries. You think about the New York City taxis, who used to that's an iconic New York image in everyone's mind is the taxis with the medallions. And in 2010, that medallion, that license to be able to run a taxi cab cost $1 million. You're talking about the peak. People were looking for it. But then today you go to New York City and everybody's looking at a phone, looking for an Uber or a Lyft. And today, less than 10% of New York City's driver landscape is yellow taxis. Again, that's an industry, a company that failed to make that digital transformation. They were just overrun by it. They were dominant. And so that's kind of the way I view things is looking at how this digital transformation impacts industries and, again, kind of helping customers and companies navigate that and really make that transition smoothly.
Yeah, those are great examples where you have these kind of staid industries like the taxi industry or the hotel industry or even a lot of TV industries. Yep. And you have these digital upstarts like you mentioned Uber, or you have Airbnb, disrupting hotels, or you have like Netflix coming on the scene, disrupting Blockbuster, and then now, disrupting the TV networks themselves, where they had to all change to streaming, just in a short amount of time, 10 or 15 years is really that window. And this comes out of how, software has just totally transformed so many of these industries. So, cloud computing and so many different things have just changed everything over the last, let's say, 10 or 15 years. So, but where does that leave us with auction businesses? So tell us a little bit about so the auction industry itself. Again, we talked about traditional, kind of background and very trust-based, relational-based, but it's shifted more to this kind of digital platform. Tell us a little bit about maybe some data that you might have on where you're seeing how auction buyers and sellers are navigating this kind of digital landscape nowadays.
Yeah. So, when you look at the auction industry and you see, again, an industry that goes back thousands of years. So it has just these deep roots in culture. But it too is, like you mentioned, it's undergoing one of these digital transformations. And if you look at just some of the metrics that indicate that, you see that, over 35.6 million Americans have participated in online auctions, right? That is where they are moving to. We obviously know the prominence of eBay and things of that nature, but they are, that is where they're going to look for. That's that digital transformation that's kind of just really permeating culture. And you look at some of the other metrics there that are really indicative of what's happening. And you see that out of those online auctions, 65% are customers who have repeated attendance, right? They come back 1, 2, 3, up to 10 times. You have 22% of those online customers who've participated more than 25 times. So it's something that kind of once people get into that mode, that's what they're looking for. They want that experience. That's what they're craving. And that is the indication of, the real digital transformation and how it just kind of starts to overwhelm an industry is once people gets that taste for, the digital interaction, the digital product, that's what they begin looking for. And so kind of my strategy for every industry, but specifically for auctions is, you've got to now begin looking at your business as a software business in a lot of ways. You can't just look at yourself as an auction company where you're thinking about consigners, you're thinking about buyers. Now you really have to think and to take in consideration your digital strategy, how you are approaching people from that online place, and to be able to give them the experiences now that they have been able to experience online at other auction companies. And that's really how I think, you ride that wave of digital transformation is you view your company, your product as a digital product. You got to put a strategy behind it. You've got to put basically some effort, some thought around it, and to be able to approach it with that mindset. And that is really what will open up, those doors and will really bring you buyers, because that's what those digital buyers are looking for. They're going to find it, right? They know the experience. They know what they're after. We, especially at InnovA, being able to approach that, we want to be able to give auction companies that tool set, that toolkit to be able to meet those needs and really what that digital audience is looking for.
I love this. This is it's kind of like convenience is one part of the business case, if you will. It's like once you do that first digital auction, you're like, wow, this is kind of nice. I don't have to put my shoes on and get in my car and go to, even though I would prefer that, all else being equal, I would prefer to be in the room where it happens and listening to the auctioneer, talking and the smell of it and all that kind of stuff. But it's really convenient to be able to buy and sell things digitally where I am in my office. So I know that's one part of it, but talk to me a little bit more about the business case before we get into your story with InnovA and where InnovA may be, solving some of these things. Talk to me about why is it maybe more of the mechanics of if I were to set up a digital property or undergo this kind of digital change or transformation. Now, we've talked a little bit about this in previous episodes with Jody, talking about some of the logic and why it's important to think of the business overall in like an automation cadence. But I know part of your background is, doing SEO work and digital properties and things like that. Like make the case for me why I should really be thinking about my storefront or my business in a digital world.
Yeah, so again, we all know that's how buyers are really looking for what they're wanting, right? And whether it's e-commerce or whether it's a shirt or clothing or whether it's a car, that's where people are going first. And it's not any different in the auction world. In the auction world, people are searching for what they want to buy. And I think for auction companies, auctioneers are expert in the event marketing. They understand it. They've been doing it for years. But this digital first kind of strategy can throw a curveball. And what we say at InnovA is like, listen, hey, we still think live auctions work, but we think online auctions is something that you ought to be able to have an open door to. Either way, though, people are digital minded. And so by being able to look at what I call your digital property, your digital real estate, it's your website, your place on the web, you've got to invest in that. Just as you would in a physical presence in your building, you got to make sure you've got to have a room, people can sit, you're ordering lunch, you're making sure they're taken care of, right? You have to invest in that digital property as well. You've got to invest in the signage and the advertising. You've got to invest in the user experience, make sure people are welcome, that they understand where they need to go, what they need to do, and where to go to next and how to conduct a business there. And I think so if you take that mindset of, okay, you know how to do it in a physical presence, you just need to translate that into an online presence as well. It's a very one-to-one, and you can apply those same learnings from one place to the other. And like I mentioned, it's not necessarily just about the online event or having a simulcast auction. I went to and saw a comedian last weekend, and it was an in-person event. Me and my family went. We went together. It was family-friendly comic, but I bought the tickets online. I bought my parking online. I looked online for what time to be there and how to get there and all of those things. It was still a digital experience. And so whether you're doing online auctions or not, you still have to think about that digital investment and how your user is finding you and what their experience is when they do land on your site.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So it's about the experience, but there's also like some technical things as well. I know you've talked about before, there's SEO value in the content and the listings and the inventory and the way that even the architecture of what you're thinking about with your business that is, let's say you have spreadsheets or let's say you have an inventory management system or something like that. But if that's not represented in a digital landscape, you're losing a lot of value that could otherwise bring a lot of traffic to the site as well. I mean, there's some huge implications there.
Absolutely. I mentioned part of that digital strategy is to make yourself visible for what people are searching for. Mm-hmm. And people are searching for inventory. That's what they're looking for. They're looking to buy a bulldozer, or they're looking to buy a certain product at auction. That's what they're looking for. And so that's what they're searching for. So from our view, that is what needs to be exposed on your website. And that's really where you need to make that investment. What we've seen and what I learned by joining in the auction industry and being able to really learn about this unique method of selling is that, a lot of times auction companies have really taken their inventory and they've moved it to a marketplace because they needed the technology. Maybe they didn't have the tools. It was really convenient, and that's where a lot of buyers were already at. But what you do by moving your inventory and listing your inventory and your event on a marketplace website, I don't fault anyone. It does bring you buyers. But you are essentially investing in that marketplace's real estate, their online real estate, and you're seeding your most valuable asset, which is your inventory, and you're handing it over to them. You do that year after year after year, and eventually that's where the buyers are going to go. They're not going to go to you. And it's the same thing you see on an online marketplace. You go to Amazon, you buy from the Amazon marketplace. It's convenient. They do have lots of buyers. But when you buy from Amazon, you're not thinking about maybe the little small business underneath that's actually doing all the work. You just think of it as Amazon. And so with InnovA, we really try to make that visible. And one of the big things, I'm not a marketer. I'm not a digital SEO expert, but I work with and have some experience with companies that do that. And one of the things you'll hear over and over and over is content is king. Content is king. Content is king. You hear that when you're talking about digital SEO and digital marketing. And when it comes to the auction company, their content is their inventory. They can write blogs about auctions and they can do those things. But really, the content that they need to expose to the search engines for that organic SEO and now for the AI agents is that content, it's that inventory, because that's what people are looking for. And if you put a storefront on your domain, you put your inventory listed, you're now you're increasing the footprint of your digital property, and you are allowing all of that content to now feed SEO, the search engines, the AI agents. And that's what will really raise the visibility for a lot of auction companies online using that content. And again, that's the strategy that we come with. And I think it's a really brilliant solution. And I think it can really help invest in those auction companies making that digital transformation.
Yeah, I was just going to say, as you were talking, if you think software really changed the world, 20, 30 years ago, and even 10 years ago, just wait till AI starts to totally transform these industries. It currently is transforming these industries. I mean, many industries are being totally disrupted and changed. Not like the hotel industry with Airbnb or Uber and taxis. I mean, fundamentally, their unit economics are changing. The way they relate to customers is changing. The way customers relate to them is changing. I mean, it is a total, profound, paradigmatic shift. And I'm imagining, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I know about you and know about Jody and what you guys are doing at InnovA, you came to InnovA in 2023. And the way that Jody was talking about the problems she was seeing in the industry and what she was doing to create a solution for this around this kind of digital transformation, her light bulb transitioned in that way long ago, where she was like, this has to be a software problem, And then given your tech background, your product background, you're coming to this and you're going, yes, exactly. It is a software problem. So talk to me a little bit about that dynamic of you coming into InnovA and seeing this kind of revolution take place, but given your background, given Jody's background and what you guys are doing, maybe a little bit more tactically, like one step down into how you're thinking about these problems.
Yeah, so in 23, whenever I joined InnovA, I just absolutely fell in love with the opportunity. I saw Jody's vision and the passion she had. But sometimes you kind of need another piece there, right? And so a lot of times we say that Jody brings the auction and I bring the tech part of it. And really my experience in that digital product, I think it really meets it right where the industry is at. And I think the vision that Jody has, it really is providing some real answers to, exactly what companies are looking for. And you mentioned this, AI, which is now just a whole other layer of this digital transformation. In fact, if you look just recently, OpenAI announced that ChatGPT was about to start putting ads in their search results. And that's really what digital product is all about. It's about connecting people with the tools and the information that they're looking for, right? So, I mentioned about the SEO strategy and increasing your digital footprint, investing there. Now what we're seeing is that's beginning to happen within the AI agents.
That's right.
Back in 2013, I worked for a fintech company that was just absolutely revolutionizing the way that online lending was happening. They were basically took an industry that was complicated, that was hard to navigate. You had to go sit with a banker. You had to fill out an application, fax it back and forth, a very complex process. And working with that company in 2013, I really learned the value of giving people the tools that they needed to navigate that and how to make that a good digital process so that they could get the information they need and perform the tasks that they needed to do. The same is true here at InnovA, right? And we talk about this AI. People are going to it for answers. They're going to it to look for information, where to buy, what should I buy, how should I, when's the right time? And auctions fit perfectly in that. So we want to make sure that the companies we support, the companies that use our product, have a ready toolkit to be able to address those problems, to address that new digital wave that's coming, even the latest with these AI agents. So it's really a great partnership to be able to take Jody's vision, kind of my tech background, and really provide some tools to these auction companies that are figuring out how to navigate this.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So, there's layer one is that initial digital transformation, going from maybe a physical geographic, industry or business, getting that all online, making that digital. But now with this AI revolution, it is a whole new way of interacting with customers interacting with you.
Yep.
And so you guys are tackling this in a couple of different ways, but from what I've talked about with Jody before is mainly, I think, on the back office side of the product, and thinking through like, okay, if we have all of the inventory and the logic and the preferences and everything that we need to run, an auction business effectively. But then you've also got, I think what more you're talking about is more of the storefront,
Yep.
where that starts to become a public facing interface where folks can interact with the auction business and their customers, separate from a marketplace, say, where they have their own storefront, their own website, where that content becomes really, really key, especially for search intent, like on Google, but then also the answer engine optimization, AEO, which is like for AIs and tools like that. But then there's also this simulcast piece as well, where you can do live auction experiences. So you get a bit of a mix of both. Can you talk us through a little bit of the kind of product that you guys are building now that we've set the problem, but like there's this product of the storefront. Can you talk through that a little bit more in detail?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that you mentioned is really the full product suite that InnovA offers addresses auction companies in each one of these areas, from the back office, which, like you mentioned, really gives auction companies the ability to scale without driving up their overhead. You have the storefront, which we kind of alluded to here earlier in this some of these questions, which is really providing auction companies with that digital real estate that they can begin attracting buyers. But part of the other piece of this that we have is the bidding platforms. And it connects to the storefront with that user experience. They want people to be able to get on, browse that inventory, begin interacting, getting familiar. Some of the things that with Jody's vision as far as how inventory is processed and prepared, we're now being able to put that online. And what that does is it allows users to get on, spend time on the website, begin interacting, falling in love with that inventory. And it does two things. One, it really engages the buyer, right? And when they're engaged, they're going to spend more time on your website. With this AI layer, right, Google is also figuring out, all right, how do we know the difference between what people really are looking for and this just AI-generated mess that's out there? And one of the key things that they're looking for is user engagement, people spending time on your site and doing things. So with InnovA, both with the storefront and the bidding platform, we're giving them opportunities to interact. They have a favorites list. They can watch it. They can pre-bid on things. They can go in and download an inspection report. And we can do all of this with the efficiencies of the back office, all the meantime, really increasing the engagement on the storefront and then giving people a direct access to it during the auction with the bidding platforms. So I think just overall, it really is a beautiful solution that kind of answers each pain point, what an auction company might be looking for, and some of the, again, ways to manage this digital transformation without changing the core fabric of auctions, where it's the same, right? You still get to have that same event, that same energy. You just get to open up your reach now.
That's so cool. So where are you going, let's say in 2026, where as the tech lead of InnovA, what are some things that you are, some trends you're thinking about? And the reason I'm asking this question is I want listeners to take away that it is, there are things that you can do immediately, but there are also things that are coming that are really important to pay attention to that maybe are not here yet, but are something that are on the horizon that you guys are really focused on.
One thing I really love about InnovA is it's a true comprehensive platform. We can do everything kind of from the beginning to end, from your taking early consignments, managing that inventory, all the way to invoicing and paying your consignors, all the way through. But sometimes that can be a little bit overwhelming too, right? You have all these things to change. And one of the things that we really want to promote in 26 is the ability that we can solve your problem where you're at right now, and we can grow you into those other things. It's one of those things where we call it a stair-step approach, a scaffolding approach. People come in, you get immediate pain relief for the particular problem you're having. Maybe it's your write-ups. You're struggling with the way, that you're not getting good, consistent write-ups or quality images. And, you as the auctioneer or the person who's kind of running things behind the scene, if you did it, you would do it right. But sometimes, you're hiring people maybe that don't have the experience and the knowledge that you have. And that's a problem. Well, we can give you a solution for that. And you can just jump right in there, and we can immediately help you there, around that pain point. We have different kind of point solutions all along the way. And really that's what we're after in 26 is we don't have to solve all of your problems right now, but we can solve something, and being able to provide those solutions to people where they're at, and then they can grow into it. As their company matures, as their company scales, as their company grows, InnovA is there that kind of has that on-ramp for us, to whatever point they want to go, we're able to scale with them and make it a lot easier, honestly.
That's awesome. I'm excited for what you guys are up to in 2026. Yeah. What's a takeaway or any kind of final commentary you want to leave listeners with?
Yeah, I think for the auction company that's looking to grow and scale, there's a lot of challenges there. InnovA was built for that auction company, the auction company that wants to take it to the next level. And the solutions, the vision that Jody had, the technology solutions we're bringing is really for that. We thought about, if you are wanting to take an auction company to the next level, how do you do it? What are you going to run into? We've built solutions for that. And whether that's hiring, that's a problem on the back office, efficiency scaling, we can help you there. Whether it's SEO, how do I make my company more prominent online? How can people find me? We've got answers for that as well. Or how do I give them a better bidding experience? We have a bidding platform that can help you there as well. So again, it's the right tool. I think it's provides great opportunity, but I do think you've got to approach it with a digital strategy, right? You do need to be looking at it through that lens, and knowing that if you start to implement some of this, you're going to get the growth and the scaling out of it. Again, I think it's just an awesome opportunity. It's an awesome product. And seeing, kind of from my background, seeing these companies who've undergone these digital transformations, I'm happy to be part of a company that is really providing the tool set to assist and to aid and to provide auction companies with the tools they need to navigate that transition. And not only navigate, but succeed and grow and dominate in it.
I love that you are leading this change with InnovA and leading the product, because it is going to be, talk about a digital transformation. It's going to be an entire business transformation for a lot of these clients that you guys are working with, and clients in the past in different industries. You've done this before. This is not something new, but it's exciting to take the reins on an auction industry as well. So with that, there are many more exciting things coming to the InnovA platform, but you can catch all of this at innovallc.com and also on YouTube and many other places wherever you get your podcasts. But we have a lot more resources, a lot more episodes coming in the future, and a whole new transformation really to keep on the theme with InnovA. So I'm excited to keep releasing that and encouraging listeners to check that out, join the newsletter, get on the list, and there's a lot more coming soon. So thank you, Nathan. Appreciate your time here, and
absolutely.
We will see you next time.